we obtain planning, then we have to complete within 8 weeks.
Let's take 10 steps back. How did you find this deal, Shaz?
I found this through a deal sourcer. So most of the deals that I get come to me through sources who have access to either sites that they find on Land Insight or elsewhere, Nimbus, that type of stuff, or they've got direct contact with landowners or agents who give sites before they come on the market.
So how are you going to fund the completion then?
It's all funded by a new, I'll call them a bank. So initially we were going to use Aldermore, and then Shawbrook gave us a better deal, which was 6% above base, 1% entry, 2% exit, which was a good deal. But they were only willing to fund 4.6 million, and the entire cost is 6 million. So they said you've got to inject 1.4 million yourself first, then we'll give you the balance, which wasn't going to work. Then we went to a company called Chordis, new company. The guy who started it is the former managing director of Aldermore. So he's got a funding line with a large institute in America, and they're giving us 5.4 million without us putting any of our funds. So basically we've broken the site into 3 phases. The first phase is done. William H. Brown are going to market that for us. We're going to try and sell off plan, get the cash in. So the additional £600,000 will come through house sales in the next 14 months.
Yeah, okay.
So that gets us there or thereabouts. However, they're charging us 0.995% per month, plus 1% entry and 2% exit. So with Shawbrook, we would have paid about 9% or thereabouts. With these guys, it's going to be more like 14.5%, 15%. But none of our money.
Yeah, it's not loaded at the front from you.
Yeah, which works better for us.
Yeah.
And a much easier process, because when you work with Shawbrook or Aldermore or some of the larger banks, they ask you 555 different questions. And
I tried to do
something new
tiny lending, but and it's just
Yeah.
like that. You just don't want to touch it again.
Yeah.
The horror.
Whereas these guys are more flexible, and they'll kind of negotiate, and you can have better terms.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
with a pot of best part of £500,000
Yep.
and then you brought in your external funding,
Yes, that's right.
and the total funding required was how much?
6 million for the build and £400,000 for the planning plus the purchase of the site.
So you
6.4.
needed your £500,000 guy,
Yeah.
or your own money,
Yeah.
plus somebody came along, another institution with £6
Yeah.
million.
The other kind of 2 obvious options are you can do a deal with the landowner if they have the appetite. So then you don't have to buy the site per se, and you get the funding to build. Or there are 1 or 2 people out there, I say people, companies, smaller companies, who will give you up to £10 million, so that they'll fund the purchase and the build, but they want half the uplift, plus they'll charge you interest on giving you the funds. So you end up giving.
But it's not so bad.
No, it works.
At the end of the day,
You give pretty much. You give them.
you put nothing in, yeah?
You put nothing in. You give them 60%, so 10% interest plus 50%, and you make 40%.
Yeah.
Which
So-
works. Yeah, it works.
Yeah.
So you can do it that way too.
Did you, obviously you didn't go down that line, but did you think about, once you'd acquired the land, at least, with the planning, the full planning permission, just to sell the whole thing?
Yeah, I did.
again?
I did.
Just say,
So-
to a developer.
Yeah.
and-
So I had an offer to sell it for £850,000.
There's a big sign on the back on the fence still.
Is there?
Development land for sale.
Yeah. That was from the previous guy.
Right.
But the same person found me somebody who wanted to pay me £850,000 to take the whole lot off our hands within a year, because we agreed to buy it in May 2020, Feb 2021. The planning came through in March, they wanted to buy it for 850 grand.
Tempted?
I was tempted, but then I thought, I want to get it into doing bigger deals. This is available. We already own the site. Make it work. So, yeah. And one side, the uplift was best part of 450 grand. On the other side, you're looking at least 3 times that.
Well, what's the GDV of this whole site when it's done then?
It's going to depend on the end values, but anywhere between 7.9 to 8.3.
So they're about £200,000 per house.
Thereabouts.
Thereabouts.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Did you consider keeping any of the
But I didn't.
properties?
I do usually keep them, Andrew, but in terms of keeping all 40, I think it's going to be too much on this particular site, especially when we're paying 0.95% per month in interest. So we might end up keeping a few, but the idea is to sell those.
Would they work as rentals though? I mean, they're quite expensive houses to get a cash for.
I think that there's a big demand in Boston.
Yeah.
So we did 21 flats just before COVID started. We rented the whole lot, I think, in 10 days.
Wow.
21 flats gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow, that's amazing.
there's a huge demand in Boston.
So what's been the main cause of sleepless nights?
Partly the funding.
Yeah.
Because Shawbrook, although initially said we'll do a deal and then haven't done the deal, and partly really, although it's not been that bad, but it's getting hold of materials. Yeah, that's been tough. Yeah. But yeah, funding is probably the biggest pain, and with but so on that side, in principle, they said you can have up to 40 units. When we started talking to Boston Council, they said, oh, we said up to 40, you can only have 32. So we had to spend best part of 6 to 8 weeks trying to argue with them that if it says up to 40, it should be 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Because they could say up to 2 million.
yeah, do you know what I mean? So, you said up to 40, so why can't it be 40?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Have you had to put any social housing on or anything else?
Yeah, so 15% affordable, so that's 6 houses, which we've all,
To be retained rented or to be sold as affordable?
to be sold to a local housing association, and we've already done the deal with a local housing association, so they'll buy that from us. And then the Section 106 contribution was £490,000.
That's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, so
Including when you got 6 houses as well.
yeah, that's right. So when we double check that, the education contribution formula, so this is, I hope this is useful to you guys, they'd used the wrong numbers. But now most people wouldn't check this. We did, so it's come down from 490 to I think 240 now, 240 or 270.
And they don't get any, there's no comeback on them for that.
There's no comeback on them, and it's cost.
So they just make mistakes at your will.
Yeah, and it's
If you don't
cost.
spot them,
It's,
then-
yeah, it's cost us £3,000 in legal fees to do a deed of variation to change that. This is my biggest one. Yeah. So I've had to kind of pretty much build a whole
You've
team.
generally done like refurb work.
I've mainly done commercial conversions. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I've never done a big development. Well, as big as this anyway.
And in comparison to the conversion refurb work, where you're thinking actually, I'd rather do this, I'd rather do that.
I'd rather do this.
Really?
Yeah, because Andrew, whether you're doing conversions or you're building, let's say, a house or 5 houses, or doing 40, the amount of time, the headache, is very similar. Very similar.
It's just bigger, isn't it?
Yeah.
Same work on a bigger scale.
Yeah. And the margins could be similar, okay, but because there's more units, the hard figure, the end hard figure for net profit is a lot bigger. So that's why I've now gone for bigger sites, because when I did the 5 units, if I compare the amount of work done up to date, same effort required. So why do 5 when you can do 40? If you've got access to funding and all that type of stuff, which there's an appetite out there for lenders to work with you. So got that site, then this came up for sale, did exactly the same with this. exchanged, no deposit, good. And reserved matters came through on this on Tuesday. So we're going to complete on this within 8 weeks. Then I've bought a third site in a place called Butterwick, which is about 20 miles that way. 26 houses, same thing there. And then I'm going back into Boston town centre, and I'm buying the main post office. Again, same deal. Which you're doing, obviously. So yeah. But yeah, if you're looking to invest, Steve, I'd say do Peterborough if you can, especially with these type of developments.
If you can get in,
The margins are better, yeah.
how much competition? It's
Yeah.
hard.
But when you get into the bigger sites, there's less competition.
Of course.
Yeah. Smaller sites, we're looking to buy a new build for 1 house, 2 houses, 3, 4, up to 5. Every man and his dog basically wants to go for it. Once you get to sites of 20, 30 plus, less people are interested. Because the bigger developers want bigger sites.
They want massive whole estates.
Smaller ones want smaller sites, so in between there's a gap and no opportunity.
If you're not holding them, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
But if you are, if Boston blew up for whatever reason,
Yeah.
too many eggs in one basket.
Yeah, and it does become harder if you create a portfolio and you're looking to refinance the whole lot. A lot of lenders will say you're too concentrated in one particular area. So that's why I do try and spread stuff. So I've got buy-to-lets through commercial conversion in Peterborough, Spalding, Boston. So if I was holding on to them, then if I did this side and I was holding on to them, I'd probably move elsewhere. Yeah, so yeah, that's a fair point.
I saw an advert in the Peterborough paper, Peterborough Telegraph, for an auction, and there was some offices for sale in Boston, 150 grand, and we checked on the site, it's been sold before the auction. Is that you?
No, it wasn't. No. Yeah.
Completely. How much focus have you had on these in terms of EPC ratings and doing the right thing, environmental conditions?
A huge amount, because that affects the end value to some extent, but more so the ability for people to be able to obtain a mortgage. Yeah,
So what's the heating system going to be?
I have no idea whatsoever. Yeah, that's all sorted out by the M&E guy, but I think we're on a C rating.
Right. Yeah. Because I'm trying to get all my properties up to a C rating and look at, well, okay, vast majority are on gas, obviously. You know, where do we take that to? At the moment, the whole discussion about air source and ground source.
Yeah, we've had all those conversations. Yeah.
Gas.
There's no gas here. No gas.
Yeah, sorry, no gas.
No gas. I've not, in the last 5 developments, we've not had any gas whatsoever. All electric. Yeah. But Gary will sign off all the work, or he'll make sure he's happy with it, and then Matt, the QS, will sign off on it. Then the bank sends in their own monitoring surveyor. He comes in and checks. And they're a big pain in the arse, they are. So our project manager, Gary Barber, he also does that role for banks, but luckily he's working for me, so he can manage those guys. So when you give your appraisal and all your other documentation to the bank, that's a huge pain in the ass, by the way, Andrew. Big pain in the ass. But because we're using a guy who knows how it works, we've had no comeback from the bank on that. They've accepted everything he's given.
Right.
Yeah. And then you've got the added challenge of releasing funds from a bank because they don't want to give you money, even though they've signed up.
But once they've done their inspection, after your site manager's done his bit, the QS has done his bit, they've had a lot, then surely
it's still it's still a pain in the arm in the backside. So using somebody experienced like we are in terms of Gary Barber, he knows how to get money from them, which is front loaded.
right.
Yeah, so he kind of works out.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
He works out the plan. So we'll have around about 200 grand extra from the bank before we've done the work.
Right.
And again, there's no way I could do that.
Yeah.
But because he knows how the system works,
Can-
that helps.
helps everything flow.
Yeah.
So for all these kind of, because you're in a part of JV, this is you'll do this as an SPV and then
Yes.
just hold it and then start a new
That's right,
next.
yeah.
But you never get any. Well, you do have a track record, but you don't have a track record within a particular company.
It still helps
Lots of,
that,
so
yeah.
how do suppliers look at that then, or banks look at that? You start this company and you folded it a year later.
Yeah. So we are the developer and we are the main contractor. So I've got a company called Redline Bicker Limited, which owns the site.
Yeah.
Then we've got Redline Construction, which you can see in here.
Yeah.
So this is the main contractor.
Yeah.
So everything will go through Redline Construction. So this will carry on trading, and we're going to build its own expertise and credibility.
But the actual ownership of the properties is separate.
Yes,
Yeah.
but everything that we're buying is being bought through Redline Construction.
Right,
so
you
this is
you'll
building
have a legacy,
the facility.
Okay, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So from the bank's point of view, they can see
Trading history.
we've done the deals in terms of the SPV.
Yeah.
From all of the suppliers' point of view,
Yeah.
we've got the same company that's trading, so we can build the.
See, I don't know whether it works beneficial for us in the way. So this 9 properties, I'm doing it with an old friend of mine as a JV. So we set up an SPV, but it's owned 50% by his company, my company. So we've run into.
So you've got like 2 holding companies.
Yeah, and so we've run into, whenever we actually get signed, his wife, my wife, are directors of our own companies. They haven't had to sign with the other company, even though they're not directors of that company.
Yeah.
Because it's owned 50% by each.
Yes.
But at least that way, there's a linkage that company has a history because it relates back to the 2 holding companies.
Yeah, that's right.
I was going to say, obviously with all your stuff you're doing on YouTube and that, do you find that has kudos with, obviously it does with investors, but with the mainstream banks and with suppliers, or they don't give a rat's.
Oh no, they care.
Yeah, they do.
So Chodis, the guy who started Aldermore Bank, and not started, but he was their MD, wanted to do the deal partly with me because of the stuff he saw on YouTube, and then his funding line from America. He sent them some of that stuff. Said, "This guy knows what he's talking about. Check out all this stuff on LinkedIn, whatever else." And they liked that, so it helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I suspected that would be the case, but it wouldn't have a formal tick box. But it's it's just a way of vetting someone again and just seeing they've got a history of being in this business and mentoring and and doing it.
So it helps, but that partly led me, Tony, to using other people's money.
Right.
So I bought that piece of land for 140 grand, spent money on planning, didn't go through, spent money on planning again, didn't go through, spent money on the planning the third time around and it went through. Then I've got an option agreement on 12.2 acres in Grantham. And I spent £225,000 with Savills, and the planning hasn't gone through. Yeah, we're still working on it, by the way, so hopefully I'll have a positive story to share with you someday. But I've got best part of £500,000 stuck in 2 property deals that will come to fruition in some point in the future. But then I thought, I haven't got enough cash left, and that's when I started looking, okay, can I find other people who've got cash where we can do deals?